Hello, this is Mr. Hargrove, and I want to welcome you to another edition of Mr. Hargrove's math class, where today we're going to be talking about calculating income tax. So, before we jump into the lesson, we want to go over some learning targets so that you'll understand what the objective is for today. And today's learning targets read as such: I will learn how to calculate income tax. I will learn how to subtract income tax from the gross pay to determine the amount of pay after taxes. Now, the success criteria basically pinpoints how we know that we're achieving the objective. And you will know that you're achieving the objective and that you're on track when you can convert a percent to a decimal, when you can multiply the decimal with the gross pay to determine the income tax amount. Don't worry about those vocabulary words. We're going to go over them. And also, when you can subtract the income tax amount from the gross pay when necessary to determine the amount of pay after taxes. So that when necessary part is very key, because sometimes you'll see it's not necessary to make that step. And we're going to cover examples of both situations. So before you jump into today's lesson, it's very important that you make sure that you already understand how to convert a percent to a decimal. It's something that we've already covered. You're just going to want to make sure that if you need to revisit a previous lesson, that you do that. You do need to know how to convert a percent to a decimal. Also, you need to make sure that you understand the rules for subtracting and multiplying numbers with decimals. Again, we did review that in a previous lesson. If you need to refer back to that lesson, feel free to do so. As I said, we are going to go over some key vocabulary. The two critical words that you need to make sure you know today are income tax and gross pay. So income tax, this is the short definition. What you need to know is that income tax is tax that is subtracted from a person's gross earnings or pay. So it's money that is subtracted. And now that leads us to gross pay. So what is gross pay? Well, gross pay, that is the total amount of money that someone earns before any taxes or deductions are taken out. So before any money is taken or subtracted, that is what the gross pay is. It's just how much money the person earned. So make sure, again, income tax and gross pay are terms that you're going to see used a lot today and throughout this unit. So let's look at the first example. Example 1, Samuel's weekly paycheck is $975.90. He has to pay 12% in federal income tax. What is the amount of tax he has to pay? And again, it's very important that we hone in on what the question is asking. And this question is asking, how much tax is Samuel paying? How much money is taken out of his check for taxes? Well, you're going to find that this topic of income tax is very much similar to the topic that we covered last week, sales tax. And you're going to see that we're going to do the same math in many cases to get the answer to questions like this. So in order to answer the question of what is the amount of tax he has to pay, I need to find the tax, okay? So I need to figure out what is 12% of $975.90. And you'll notice that this is very much just like sales tax. The first thing I need to do is that 12%, I need to convert it to a decimal. So how do you convert 12% to a decimal? Well, that should be reviewed at this point. The number 12, if you just put a decimal at the end on the right side of the 2, and then you just want to move over 2 spots to the left, that's going to change 12% to its decimal form, which is 0.12. After that, we're going to multiply $975.90 times 0.12. And when we do, we get a number that rounds to, because again, you need to round to the nearest penny whenever you're dealing with money. So the amount that you get rounds to $117.11 in federal income tax. Now, if I go back and read the question, The question says, what is the amount of tax he has to pay? And I just calculated it. So this is a one-step problem. All your problems will not be one step. In fact, the next example that we're going to look at is not a one-step problem, but I just want to encourage you here, always go back and reread the question anytime you calculate, do some math and get an answer. Go back to make sure that the answer that you got actually answers the question. That is just a tip that good math students do. And it's my goal to help you all to become strong math students. So let's look at the next example. Jenny's gross earnings are $1,945 for her paycheck every 2 weeks. She is taxed 14% by federal income tax. What is the amount of her paycheck after taxes? Now, again, let's look at this question again. What is the amount of her paycheck after taxes? So I now see that this question is going to require an additional step. But the same first step is true. I need to find the tax. So I need to figure out what is 14% of $1,945. Again, you guessed it. I need to convert that 14% into a decimal. Always convert your percents to decimals in these situations. So 14% as a decimal becomes 0.14 because I move the decimal 2 times to the left. And if I do 1,945 times 0.14, I get $272.30 as the amount of income tax. Now, is that the answer to the question, though? No. The question, if we reread it, it says, what is the amount of her paycheck after taxes? It would be very sad and awful if Jenny's paycheck that was $1,945 all of a sudden becomes $272.30. That would be a tragedy, right? That's not the answer to the question. We just did step 1. The next step is now I need to subtract this tax amount that I just calculated from her earnings. So I need to set it up just like this. And remember your rules when you are subtracting decimals, or you need to line the decimal point up. When I'm multiplying, I don't need to line them up. I just do regular multiplication, pretend like the decimal isn't there, and place it in the end. But remember, when you're subtracting, you got to line your decimal up. So when I do this subtraction, and I got to put those 2 extra zeros as placeholders, I get $1,672.70 is the amount of Jenny's paycheck after taxes. So that is the answer to the question. Because again, if I go back and read the question, what is the amount of the paycheck after taxes? That is exactly what I just calculated. So the $1,672.70 is my answer. This is a 2-step question. Example 3. You're going to see an example like this in your follow-up assignment. So just pay attention. Ryan gets paid $30 per hour and works 50 hours per week. Ryan gets paid every 2 weeks. Federal taxes are 15% of his gross earnings. How much does Ryan get paid after taxes are taken out? Now this problem is going to require some thinking here because they haven't told me the exact amount. I know that Ryan gets paid every 2 weeks, but they haven't given me the exact amount of money that Ryan makes in 2 weeks. However, they gave me enough information to figure it out. If I know that Ryan is paid $30 per hour, and I know that he works 50 hours per week, that's enough information for me to figure out how much money Ryan makes in 2 weeks, how much his gross pay is in 2 weeks. So that's what I need to do. Step 1, let's figure out the amount of Ryan's earnings after 2 weeks. And to do that, I need to take that 50, because I know he works 50 hours per week, but I need to multiply it by 2 because he gets paid every 2 weeks. So he's really getting paid on 100 hours worth of work. And then I need to multiply that by 30 because he gets paid $30 per hour. So that's going to give me a gross pay of $3,000. So Ryan gets paid $3,000 every 2 weeks. The next step I need to figure out how much tax Ryan pays. So again, let's convert that 15% into a decimal. 15% as a decimal becomes 0.15. And then I'm going to do 0.15 times 3,000. That's going to give me $450 in income tax. So that 450, that is the amount of income tax that Ryan is going to pay. But again, not the answer to the question, because the question says, how much does Ryan get paid after taxes are taken out? So I have to do an additional step. I need to subtract the tax from his earnings. So when I do 3,000 minus the $450, that leaves me, or leaves Ryan rather, with $2,550. That's how much money Ryan makes after taxes. Again, multi-step question, but I'm going to go back and just make sure that my answer matches the question. How much does he get paid after taxes? And that's the right answer. $2,550 is amount after taxes. Now, this question says, your turn. Janessa's gross pay is $455.15 every week. Federal income tax takes 13% of her check. How much tax is taken out of her check each week? How much tax is taken out of her check each week? So I want you to pause the video and answer that question. And if I look, I'm going to go ahead and answer the question, but then I'm also going to take it that additional step. So let's find the tax, right? That's what this question is asking me to do. How much tax is taken out of her check each week? Well, what is 13% of $455.15? Well, I need to convert that 13% into a decimal. That's going to be 0.13. And if I look, $455.15 times 0.13, that gives me $59.17 as the amount of income tax. Now, that is the answer to this question, okay? That is the answer to this question. But let's say the question asked, instead of how much is taken out of the check each week, if it asked the question another way. What if it said, how much is Janessa's paycheck after the 13% is taken out? Well, if the question asked that, then I would go that extra step, right? And I would do that. But just for the sake of this problem, that $59.17, that is the answer to the question. But it's important that you also go back and ask yourself, well, what if they asked it another way? Okay, what if the only thing they wanted to know was, what is the amount of the check? Then that extra step will be required. But since that is not the case here, you're pretty much done. So that is the answer to this question. I appreciate you all for your attention. And again, I'm looking forward to you practicing this concept. Thank you for listening. And now it's time just to put this to practice. So the practice is coming up. Again, thank you so much. Have a good day.